Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein were closer than either had publicly admitted. And we got a new insight and an understanding into the nature of their relationship. We spent several weeks combing through more than 18,000 emails that Bloomberg obtained from Epstein's personal inbox. And, you know, it really takes us inside the life and the mind of this man who just seems to pop up every few months or so in the press with new revelations, new connections, and is causing a bit of a firestorm in Washington, D.C. at the moment.
So, Ava, remind us of where we are right now with Ghislaine Maxwell, right? She is looking to take some time off. She wants to carve out some of her sentence, right? Reduce her sentence at the current moment.
Yes, that certainly seems what she's angling for. She was convicted a few years ago with enabling Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking. They were very close, and she's currently serving 20 years in prison for that. But she became relevant, I guess, to some extent, very recently when she offered to sit down with top DOJ officials and tell them whatever she knew about Epstein's connections and you know, who he associated with. She did that in July in a interview that was then released publicly, and she has since been moved to a slightly cushier prison. But her lawyers and the DOJ, you know, certainly dispute any suggestion that that was a quid pro quo or a deal. But her lawyers have made clear that they would welcome any relief from the Trump administration.
So how credible is she then as someone who talks about what she knows about Jeffrey Epstein to federal investigators?
Our reporting in these emails certainly add to the questions surrounding her credibility and the truthfulness of her statements that she made in this interview. She was at one point charged with perjury for lying under oath about what she knew about Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse. And we found that there were some discrepancies and some serious questions about statements she made regarding her relationship with Epstein, what she knew about his legal troubles in the mid-2000s. So I think that this reporting certainly adds to some concerns around that.
And, you know, through your reporting, you're saying that the emails demonstrate that she did have a deep knowledge of the legal jeopardy that Epstein was facing, and that she showed how she helped him strategize over even the most consequential details here. But one thing I wanted to talk about is who else is involved here? I mean, I do know that there were a lot of names that were floated, a lot of prominent individuals. Where does that stand today?
Absolutely. Jeffrey Epstein has had a reputation for a long time for rubbing shoulders with influential and high-profile people, from Hollywood actors to academics to Wall Street power brokers. And these emails certainly add to that. We've seen the names of until very recently, the UK ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, big names on Wall Street, the tech billionaires as well. And one interesting part of those relationships is how Maxwell helped Epstein nurture them, offering to organise visits to his private island in the Caribbean and seats on board his private jets.
So we spent a lot of time talking about Ghislaine Maxwell and her role in our understanding who Jeffrey Epstein is. What do these emails reveal about Jeffrey Epstein himself?
It shows a new level of callousness that he took towards young women. That was something that was quite striking to me. You can see how he interacted with the many young women that he had in his orbit, from his assistants to his on-again, off-again girlfriends, to women who have been characterised years later as recruiters of other young women. He could be quite dismissive, quite manipulative in his language, dismissing them for not engaging in quote-unquote fun sex things over their exercise routine. So that was really, I think, telling and insightful.
So Republicans have blocked the Senate vote to release Epstein's files. And of course, this is something that people have been talking about for quite some time, really advocating for the release here.
They've been obsessed with it.
Obsessed to say the least. What's the latest with that?
There is still a groundswell of support to release these Epstein files, and you're right. Those calls have only grown louder in recent months. And we saw last week a press conference with some of Epstein's victims and the victims' attorneys, who are also calling for release of the files, but a more careful approach to it, redacting victim information. There's stuff that, some of these attorneys who have been working on this case for more than 20 years haven't even seen. So, while the Trump administration has said that's the end of the release of the DOJ files, we expect to see, a few more documents come out through the congressional process.